my formula right here, you see the heck yes? So if someone gives me an offer and I'm like, not like, yes. Do you want to come to my house for dinner? And I'm like, yes. If it's like, do you want to come to my house for dinner? I'm like, that's one more thing for me to do this weekend. I have this, I have that. It's a no. Because what happens is you either show up at her house with resentment in your heart, right? Because you had to do so much, or your energy's not great. It's either, to me, 100% yes, or it's a no. In this society, when a woman is really assertive and knows what she wants, she's called the B word. Is anyone familiar with the B word? Okay. It's actually an acronym. Anytime a man loses control, okay, you will be called that word. Wear it as a badge of honor. Huh?
I actually find that it's used more by women against women.
Yeah. When anyone's lost control, you'll usually see them go to that term. If you're at a job you hate, did God not make the world big enough for you? If your relatives are driving you nuts, the houses farther out are much cheaper. You can move. Don't complain about it. Did God not make this earth big enough for you? How cool is it that the same Allah that created the mountains, the oceans, and the galaxies looked at Earth and thought Earth needed you too? What do we have control over, right? Because we're taking 100% responsibility for ourselves. The first thing we have control over are your thoughts, what you think, the images you hold in your mind. All right, my son is backpacking through Asia, and last week he didn't call for 5 days. What kind of images do you think started going through my mind? I'm like, you went to Vietnam. You don't call. We put the dang phone plan on your thing. And then I caught myself and I was like, what do I want to happen? I was like, none of these scenarios. I was like, I know my son, he's non-responsive. He's going to get where he has network and he'll call me. He tested me for 18 hours, but he did eventually call. Your behaviors, so those are your words and actions of that, your emotions and your belief. This is the example I like to use. Has anyone watched the old Star Wars? This is the 1978 one. I call it the first one, but now they have prequels and I don't know which one it is. But if you haven't watched this movie, they're in a trash compactor. And they're stuck in this trash compactor and the walls start closing. Imagine you're in this trash compactor and these walls are closing in and you are going to get crushed. And all of a sudden, you look down on the floor and you notice there's 2 holes. Do you decide to jump in or get crushed? Is that a choice, right? What do you do? What do you decide? Jump in, okay? Well, as you look closely at these holes, you notice one is filled with cess, and the other one just has a little bit of cess. Now, who knows what cess is? Yeah, exactly. One person. It's the stuff that comes out of your toilet. Now you have these 2 holes. One's got so much cess that once you jump in, it'll drown you. And the other one has less, but when you jump in, it'll come up. What do you choose to do? Okay, jump in. So you made a choice, right? Sometimes in life, do you always have good choices? No. Sometimes it's between bad and worse, but you make a choice. All right, so you jump in that hole, and just as you jump in the second hole, the wall closes. Now what? You have your final choice, which is what? Your attitude. One story could be, man, you don't know my day. I got stuck in a trash compactor, and then the walls started crushing me, and then there were only 2 holes, and you know what was in them? My God, it was so hard, and then I had to jump in the hole. So that's option 1. Or you have option 2, which is, save me, it's only up to here today, lady. You control your attitude. If someone comes up to you, puts a gun to your head, and says, give me your car, do you have a choice? Yeah. You take a bullet or you give them it's not a good choice, but you have a choice. Whatever you're doing, look at your choice in it. Trust me, I have 4 kids. You know, some of them chose to rebel. Even with your parents, you have a choice, right? Even with kind, loving parents. So, you know, every time you have a choice. You don't have to do everything, but then own your choice. Own your choice. You don't have to let it weigh you down. Was it a bad day or was it a bad 5 minutes that you milked all day long? The most beloved people are those who are the most beneficial people. The fruit comes from the root. What happens is have you ever compared yourself to anybody? Anyone here? Yes? Yeah? Okay. We see the tree and we see all the fruit. And we look at their tree. Look how much fruit they have. They're doing so much better than me. Understand that the fruit comes from the roots. And the roots are your emotional, your spiritual, and your mental basis. If they are showing more fruit, they have higher emotional intelligence. They're usually more spiritual, okay, and more mentally stable. Now, there are a lot of rich people that do not have these, but what you see is their trees topple over all the time. Or they have so many addictions and stress that it really doesn't matter, right? You guys are like dead. No. So are you guys liking this? Does it help? All right, cool. This is one of the wordles I made, and this is kind of something I look at for me every day. I am is a really powerful phrase. Whenever you use the word I am in front of anything, it's an identity. What that means is you are claiming that you're, just like when you say I am stupid, okay, I am clumsy, I am lazy, I am a procrastinator. You are taking it on at an identity. So in your brain, that's the deepest level. Let's be careful of our words, especially the words we use on ourselves. Small minds talk about people, medium minds talk about events, and great minds talk about ideas. Anytime I interview a woman or she's starting to start a business, I can always classify her because I can see what she talks about. She talking about the shoes that other girl wore, or I can't believe the look she gave me, or, you know, or what kind of dress was that to wear at an event like this? That's option 1. Or is she talking about, did you see in the news? I can't believe these people, especially on social media, they post every car wreck. And I'm like, do you realize a lot of your friends don't live near you? But they're event oriented. And the news is also event oriented. It's also geared towards your subconscious mind. Your subconscious protects you from 2 things, lack and attack. And if you notice, that's the theme of the news. Everything's running out. There's not enough water. There's not enough food. There's not enough this. There's not enough money. And then attack. These people are out to get you. Those people are out to get you. And that triggers you at a subconscious level to paralyze you. That's what events and then great minds talk about ideas. Be a great person, talk about ideas. Stop accepting apologies not accompanied by changed behavior. Either speak good or stay silent. And again, you know, small minds talk about people, medium-sized minds talk about events, great minds talk about ideas. It's in the Quran. It's a hadith. Watch your words. This is Marquita Andrews. I love this girl. Marquita, as you can see here, she is 9 years old. She's 9 years old. She's a Girl Scout. Girl Scouts offers a round the world trip to whoever sells the most cookies that day. For that year, them and their parent gets to go around the world. Now, Marquita has a single mom. She lives in the Bronx. They have no money. There's no way that they could actually get this trip, right? Unless she wins it. Marquita dresses up in her Girl Scouts uniform every day, wears it everywhere, and when people come home to those big apartment buildings in the Bronx, she goes knocking door to door and says, "Hi, my name is Marquita. I have a dream to take my mom around the world, and I am funding it by selling Girl Scout cookies. Would you like to invest in our dream? Would you like 5 boxes or 10? Okay, well, what do you think happened? She became the #1 seller. She got the #1 trip, and she wrote this book, How to Sell More Cookies, Condos, Cadillacs, Computers, and Everything Else by Mark Andrews. 9 years old, right? Woman, like Malala said, you know, if one guy can mess it up, one girl can change it. Girls should learn history and make it, right? Don't leave a will, leave a legacy. This one is from Thomas Edison, which I thought was really interesting. What a source of power. Do we really have to wait till oil and think about this, 1,500 years ago. This is made out of, so they take the local dirt, they mix it with cement, they create the house. It's powered by solar panels. The roof collects water that goes in this tank here. That's where the water comes from. And the gray water comes to the garden. And then they have an oven that's solar powered that's always at 300. So it's a full house that's totally off the grid. Outside of Lahore, between Lahore and Sialkot. Yeah, they had sent the machines. Then you know our people how they are. They built a few and yeah. And this was just to make affordable housing for everybody without waiting for power lines, without waiting for water. And this was about 10 years ago. Yeah, I just want you to know that there are solutions. Everyone's like, we're running out of power, we're running out of water, right? You hear the news, lack and attack. There are people with solutions. This company that designs these is out of Bethesda.
Which company is that?
I don't remember. I know, I can see the guy right now. It'll come to me. This woman is my grandma. She was born in 1922 in India. My grandfather, her husband died at the age of 50. What happens when you lose your spouse at 50? She went and got her master's degree in abnormal psychology. And she started this organization, PSRD. Are you familiar with PSRD? Pakistan Society for the Retarded and Disabled. She worked with special needs kids all through the 70s, and then she went back to Pakistan, and she was always raising money.
What's the name?
Sajila Khan. She passed away 8 years ago. Yeah, time's flying. At 94, but until 92, y'all, she was still working for this charity. I remember this one Eid we went, right? And it's Bakra Eid, and everyone's got their like goats and everything. We come home. My grandmother, she was in bed at 9 o'clock. She was up for Fajr every day. I mean, that was her like religious. We come home at 10:30 from the market. We have like, you know, henna on and all this stuff. She's nowhere to be found. We're like, what happened? She's gone, her car's gone, the driver's gone. And at this point, she must have been like 85 or something, right? And like, what the heck? She's in bed every night by 9. And she comes back and she has a purse full of donations. And she's like, you know, it's Eid. They're giving donations. How could I sleep? She would get these old school buses in Pakistan, and she would go to the villages and pick up kids. And then I still have these. They would make handicrafts and then they'd sell them. And these were the kids that people had just kind of thrown away. Kids that had handicaps were, you know, for whatever reason, people were not taking care of them, so she would do that. And then every time I have a crazy idea, I go for it. This is us in Antarctica. This is me and my family. And, you know, like if God gives me an idea, I just act on it. So my kids, when they were in 2nd grade, they were studying the pyramids in Egypt, if you notice Fairfax County's curriculum. And then when they studied the animal life cycle, we took a safari to Africa. And then, you know, when they did oceanography, we went and snorkeled the Great Barrier Reef. I was like, what point is there to have an education if you don't have the experience to go for it? And then those poor underprivileged kids of mine were saying, we've only done 6 continents. And I was like, you poor things, you've only done 6. We ended up going to Antarctica. Ernest Shackleton that did a lot of the exploring around Antarctica and going to the South Pole, he put this want ad in a London paper. This is how he got people in droves. I just thought it was fascinating. Men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. They responded in droves, and this is his authentic trip. But, you know, whatever like an idea comes, and I'll show you guys how I do this if we have time, but I'll show you like how I do all this stuff. Stop trying to make the wrong people love you the right way. All right.